Everything was a total mess from the very get-go.
Oh my goodness.
And it does remind me of what we had in Rio
2016.
2016. I'm going to speak for the Paralympians. They had very poor accommodation, and I think at some point they were stranded in Rio, and even getting the transportation coming back was a problem.
Are kitted in a way in which they covered themselves because in some of these sports, let's be honest, because a big part of the sporting audience is male, so women sometimes are pushed to dress in certain ways
Yeah.
that some of them are not comfortable with.
Right.
But I think it's good to have, you know, like the kind of dressing that like the women who are not comfortable in wearing the very tiny stuff can have an option to wear something else. So right away. Now, Louis, let me come back to you. You know, like besides the Kenya team, you know, like the events, what are your overall feelings about these Paris Olympics, you know, compared to previous Olympics that you've watched? Louis.
Um, Everything was a total mess from the very get-go.
Oh my goodness.
And it does remind me of what we had in Rio
2016.
2016. I'm going to speak for the Paralympians. They had very poor accommodation, and I think at some point they were stranded in Rio, and even getting the transportation coming back was a problem. And by the time they even arrived back home, they were not given the stipends on time. Some of them did not even receive the stipends at all, and they almost gave
By
up.
the way, Rio waliishi ghetto. They were actually
Yeah,
moved from the village wakapelekwa kwa favela.
exactly.
All right,
And
Louis.
so in 2020 is when we had, I think, if you remember, Asiye Mohammed Sururu. That's now when she became popular with the rowing of the boat. She's also a Paralympian. I think she lost both of her feet or something, and she's been supported by her family. Her auntie is the one who was taking care of her, and then her family is there. They're the ones who came together actually to fund for her going to Tokyo. Nobody cared about the Paralympians at that moment in time. The government did not really care much about them even getting the kits was a problem. But she happened to actually perform very well in 2020. So there was a legal battle that was going on for the last couple of years. And this year, as we're talking, actually, just this month, or is it this week, Safaricom have stepped in and they're sponsoring the whole entire Paralympian Kenyan team that are in Paris right now. They are not only just giving them money and supporting them with their transportation, funding for their accommodation and all that, they're also even giving them financial literacy and plus offering them stipends when they go back home so that they can actually be able to survive and continue participating in the sport of their choice. Now, that's an agreement between SAFCOM and the Paralympian Committee of Athletics in Kenya, which is kind of a good gesture. So I didn't want to paint the government body in a very bad way that maybe Kenya is not really bothered about these fellows. We have sponsors that are willing to help at their capacity, but you know, there's some roadblocks here and there, of which they're all um, government kind of related, you know, with corruption here and there from left, right, and center. There's somehow, some way, someone that wants to benefit from that opportunity. That has been the problem now that has actually also curtailed the other Olympians that we're already having over in Paris. So, for example, let me take a look at, or rather, let me try and bring this up when we talk about the Olympic trials. I don't know if any one of you guys are aware that majority of the men teams that went there did not actually go through national trials before they got selected into the Olympics.
What do you mean? Are you talking about the Kenya team, or are you talking about just overall people who went to the Olympics?
No, not overall, some of the teams. The 5,000 and 10,000 meter men did their trials in Prefontaine, Eugene, Oregon.
Okay, okay.
They didn't do it in Kenya.
So
they did
how?
not do it where they are used to their home turf, the humidity and the climate and the home ground, whereby they can be able to go ahead and actually perform well. They did
So
not do it that way. They had to actually pay for themselves to go to Eugene. Remember, you are trying to go and represent the country. You have to pay for yourself to go there. The country will not even care about you. If you recall, the 10,000 meter race in Eugene, Oregon last year, was it last year or early this year? It had, I think, 12 Kenyans, and they're only selecting the top 3. All those other guys have to pay for themselves. How would you treat somebody that way? And they have talent.
so I mean, this is very, very confusing, and this is actually very explosive, I would say, for the average person, you know, because I had no idea that Kenya was conducting trials in another country. So basically, the athletes would know, like, if you want to be part of the
Qualify.
Olympic team, you have to find your way to the Prefontaine Classic, and the government is not paying for you. You have to figure out how to pay for yourself to get there.
Yep. So you have to enter yourself into the Diamond League. Remember,
Okay.
the Diamond League is not funded by the government. Okay. The government will only pay for you at the Olympics, Commonwealth, and African Championships.
So if
The
you sign up,
rest, you're
yeah.
all by yourself. And
Yeah.
before you actually get to qualify time that you can present to go for this kind of trials,
Yeah.
you also have to show that I have ran here, I have ran there, I have ran here. So that's why you're finding people like Kipchoge. He didn't have to do anything. All the marathon runners did not have to do a marathon running trial. It's because they run all year round. They're running in these big city races. And with those big city races, their times are all out there and they're accredited and they're ratified. And so for the trials, there's no point for a trial. They just had to use, what do you call this? Like a wild, how can I call it? Just like a bucket. And they said, okay, fine. I think so-and-so has very good numbers. I think Kipchoge definitely is a champ. They had a problem trying to get somebody else. When they got in Mutiso remember, we have Kamuror, who is also very, very good. Remember, we have, I think, 2 other runners. There's one that won Boston and the one that won
Evans
Chicago.
Chebet. Evans
Yeah,
Chebet.
Chebet.
Yeah.
There was Evans Chebet. He did Boston. How they ended up with Benson Kipruto, who lost terribly. The last 2 marathons that he ran, we don't know how he ended up there. Nobody really understands. And I had a debate with that a while back, but I didn't understand the concept behind it and how they did that. The 10,000 meter runners, 12 of them scrambled to find a position to come over to Eugene, Oregon, in order for them to do the trials. But apparently, only 3 were able to do so. On their way back, some of them were stranded. They had to pay for themselves. Some of those guys don't even have meals. I was funding one athlete in Eugene, so I know this.
Louis. This right here, I mean, I hope this information is gonna get to Onesimus Kipchumba Murkomen, because this is very problematic. So you're saying those three athletes, the ones who made it to Eugene, were the only ones who were eligible?
No. 12 athletes came to Eugene.
Oh, 12
and
came
only
to Eugene.
3 were chosen.
Yeah, 3
Only
were
3 were
selected.
chosen out of the 12.
Yes.
Now let me ask
Yeah.
a question. Now these 12 who were able to make their way to Eugene, were they the 12 best, or were they just the 12 who were able to pay their way to Eugene?
There were
The
12
ones
that
who
had
are
money.
able to pay, and they believe that they have participated in probably other areas where they feel that they can be able to make the Olympic time.
So what you're saying is that maybe there might have been others who are able to make the Olympic time, but they could not afford to present
correct.
themselves in Eugene.
Yeah.
So there's a possibility that the contingent that we sent out to the Olympics is not necessarily the best that we have to offer, but it was the best that was able to present itself for the qualifications.
Well, that is correct. Look at the lady, what's her name? Susan Ejoro. She goes to school in Eugene, Oregon.
Wow. Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
She's representing Kenya. She was right there. She was able to actually show her time, a showcase, because she was available.
Okay.
Yet we have other runners that can be able to smash those times. Look at how she got beat. She literally, I think, she came number 4, number 5. Then the last heat, I think she did really poorly. Yet we have somebody back at home, the courage, who can be able to smash that very easily. Her best time is even better than Ejoro's.
Oh, okay, Louis. This is more problematic than I thought it was.